Oops lab experiment number 4. So in this lab we're actually asked to implement a class called employee with two functions and with these many uh, input variables. So before going on to the code, I'll just show you the output. Just give me a minute. Okay, so first I'll just insert and like I'll just make an employee. For this, let me give the name Daniel. Employee ID like UFO1, basically 30,000, D8000, HRA 1500, deduction 6000. Okay, the first thing, let's save. Now let's make one more employee. Save Daniel. Employee UFO2, basically 20,000, D8000, HRA 1500, deductions 3000. We make others. For 3, basically 30,000, the 8,000, 2,000, 7,000 deductions. Now let's calculate the gross pay for Daniel. So now let's calculate gross pay for Daniel. You have to give 1. Daniel was here for 1. So as you can see, the gross pay of the employee Daniel is 38,500. Let's calculate gross pay for Daniel. So his ID is here for 2. Gross pay for employee Daniel is profit employed Daniel is 25,500. Now let's calculate cost pay for others. U for 3. So this 40,000. So now what can I do is I'm gonna give a random ID. We'll see if it works. As you can see, employee ID is not in the database, so that HPS works. Now let's go to calculating the net salary. For this, I'll just give one example. Say others. So net salary for others is 22,000. Now let's just give a random ID and check if the HPS works. For okay, yeah, like it actually works. That's why I didn't print anything. So let's go and check out the program. So here I have a class called employee with uh, these many variables, and all of these are made public. They are not private. So as I do make it private, I don't need to use getters and setters to initialize them and change the values. So here I have a constructor which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 arguments, and all these values that are passed are initialized with the values that I made here. Here I made extra to gross pay and net salary for calculation in these two functions. So first thing, the gross pay function, it's also a public function which returns an integer data type. So the formula was given in the question. So So based on the formula, gross pay equals basic pay plus HRA plus DE reduction. Calculate this and return this value. Then for net salary, it's similar to gross pay. Now the formula differs. It also has a field type integer. So calculate it and return it. Now let's go to the main function. Main first I'm just initializing the scanner object. Then I have an array of type employee to store all the uh, employee objects in the database. So I'm just making it of size 10. So in a database, we can only store 10 people's uh, info. So first, I'm just asking the user to select an option, and I'm just storing a choice in this variable choice. I'm initializing a counter variable 0 to have a count of the current. um uh, it's basically like this. So this counter will tell you where you need to insert. Say Daniel is already inserted in the database in the array. Okay, so Daniel is at position 0. Now we want to insert Ben will, then we need to insert at position 1 in the array. So this counter makes sure that happens. So I have these variables to take input, and then I have this while loop which has the operations that we're interested in. So choice until choice is double equal to 4, this the function the call will be with this while loop. When it's double equal to 4, the call exits from the while loop. So why 4? Because here the options I gave 4 means exit. So inside that I'm just using a switch case statement. I'm using this s dot next line to get in like backslash n as when I open these there are certain okay, like like backslash n doesn't count as an input when you take next line, so there'll be an issue cost there. So to avoid that, I just use this thing. First thing, I just have a switch case statement with this choice variable that I got in earlier. So if it's case one, that means we need to make an employee. So just ask the user for the employee details, then uh, what the user needs to input, and just input it in all these and, and store it in all these variables. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna access the current place where the object should be uh, stored. So initially we have an employee array and the total size is 10. So this count will tell you the current place where the object will be stored. As I gave you an example earlier, if Daniel is already in the database, then the current place where the employee details that 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 should be stored is at position 1. So here I'm just making a new employee object of the class employee, and I'm initializing it with this uh, 6 variables I guess. Okay. What this does is it just calls the constructor, if you remember this thing, and does the initialization for us and stores the object in the array, in this particular array address. Then we increment count as we as this particular place is filled. Then we break. Okay. Now let's go to finding gross pay. For gross pay, we just enter the employee ID, then we get it. Then we have this boolean variable which says false. If in case the employee is found, then will just print that. If it's not found, here will be useful to print that the employee details and all that in a database. So this for is runs from I is equal to 0 up to but not including the current value of count. Uh, Like this is because like count minus 1 will give you the last object that was inputted. So here like if employee ID dot equals operator like of employee array of I, if I is 0 like employee array is 0 not employee ID. If this is true then the statement is executed. So what the statement does is basically prints this whole thing. So here as you can see employee array dot I employee okay this is to print the employee name, and this is where we call the function gross pay of like of this particular object. As you remember, every object will have these two functions also included with it. So when you call them with the syntax, okay, like object dot gross pay, it will return the value for it. When we update proceed is equal to true. So we already that means the employee details are found in the database and the gross pay is printed. So here will be false. If in case it is not found, proceed is false, right? So when I give not of proceed become true. So that means this will get printed. Employee ID is not in the database. This is same thing what I explained follows here. Same thing, exact same thing. Okay, but then I just forgot to add this one on this one. So as you remember, this didn't come, doesn't pop up before. This so now even this condition will look same thing except only one change is here it's net salary. As procedure is already been declared, we just need to use this. I should go now. Yeah, so that's it. Mhm. Outbound. Okay. So if it's anything, it's actually default correction. So if I give anything other than that, automatically it will say wrong input. Try again, and again it shows the user the option, and it gets the choice. This program repeats until 4 is given, the condition to exit. So that's all for this program. Thanks for watching. Please give 5 marks. 5 marks means 2 marks.